You probably didn't know about this cloth simulation secret feature. If you come up here, you can click here and choose different presets. By default, it's set to cotton, but for example, if I set it to rubber and replay, you'll see that this cloth becomes much stretchier and also hangs a little heavier. Now we're going to go through all of these settings here, and you're going to see a lot of settings like tension, compression, shear, bending that might make no sense. And I think that's because you have to have an understanding of how Blender's calculating the cloth sim. So let's take a look at that before we go through these settings. Now, luckily, Blender's actually given us a nice illustration in the manual here to show us how cloth sims are calculated. So here you see an object with 4 faces, and you see all these arrows here. Well, these arrows are basically like springs. So when they calculate the cloth sim, it's actually measuring kind of the spring from one vertex to another and how strong that spring is. So when we change those settings, we're essentially strengthening or weakening these springs. So here on the blue arrows are the tension. So when we adjust our tension settings, what we're essentially doing is either stiffening up and tightening the edges of the cloth or loosening them. The other one to pay attention to is compression, which is how easily these vertex from one another will stretch apart or hold their form together. And then the last one you need to focus on is the shear, which is kind of the diagonal force across of these. So you can imagine that if you had really low shear and compression values, you'd get a very lightweight cloth. Whereas if you had high values across all these things, you'd get a very kind of stiff cloth. Check out the full video for a complete guide to cloth sims.